That is awesome. There we go. That's great, Karl. That was excellent.
It's the best summer drink, you know.
It
Look,
really
cider
is.
is a great summer drink, and people don't think of that because they always think apples and fall and harvest. And, you know, and the funny thing is, if you go all over the world, you go to wine country, it's fun to go during the harvest, but really when you want to go is when they release the new vintage, you know,
Yeah.
you know, and so you go to the wine country in the spring when the whites from last year are being released and drink all the new wine. And so it's the same thing with cider. I think to come to the Hudson Valley and drink cider when it's hot, it's so refreshing. Cider, it's low alcohol, so you can, you know, have a couple without really paying the price. And
Yeah. And gluten free.
yeah, it mixes well too. Like this is obviously just a, you know, takeoff on the classic, you know, Venetian Spritz. You know, I was lucky enough to go and spend time in Padua with the Luxardo family, and they took us to Venice, to Harry's American Bar, and everywhere you went, you know, you went for Apertivo. You know, the Venetian Apertivo, and it's not just 5 o'clock. It starts at like, you know, 2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And you go and you get, you know, a spritz or a glass of wine and a little, they give you all kinds of little snacks while you drink. And it's such a very civilized way to live. And
oh my gosh, yeah.
So, you know, they use Prosecco, obviously, for the, you know, Aperol is a famous one.
Yeah.
But they use Prosecco with the Aperol, but other bitters work equally as well. And it's just delicious, you know.
Well, and the thing I find, I mean, I think it's so amazing the way the cider, to me, cider is just so much more dynamic. I mean, I'm not just saying that because I, you know, I'm part of the Cider Association, but it just is so much more of a dynamic experience. So to use that in this Aperol is just absolutely delicious. I have never been to Italy. It's probably currently at the top of my list. I mean, you know, I think probably one of the reasons why I haven't been is because I'm a little overwhelmed about where to go first. And I imagine once I go, I'm probably not going to want to come back. So I think I'm just holding it off as long as I possibly can.
Well, my big mistake every time I've gone is to basically try to do too much, because you want to like see everything, and I'm going to see it all on this trip. And you know, you can't go wrong, but I've found that the less I plan and the more kind of cushion time you give yourself, there you can really enjoy it. You know, and this aperitivo, the Cappelletti, is there you go.
Nice. Yeah.
I just think it's delicious, and the fact that it's from up in the mountains in apple country, you know, makes it, I think, kind of special for you know, a cider spritz, you know.
Absolutely. So, you know, Karl, I'm just realizing there's a little button that I forgot to push that allows the sound to come through when I play the video. So everybody was just enjoying that visually. I think I want to go back and play it again because it's so good, and it's short and sweet, and people can enjoy watching the video and actually hearing it this time. So why don't we do that just to make sure people get to watch it, because I want for people to appreciate it.
Very good. I think a lot of people can read lips, so we'll be fine.
That's true. Yeah. And luckily we had the ingredients on the screen, but it'll be fun to watch again. So
all right,
let's try this. Okay, there we go.
Good afternoon. This is Karl duHoffmann with Donen, our bar manager and mixologist, coming to you from Orchard Hill Cider Mill. And we are ready for happy hour because we haven't been traveling for a while. And usually every year Donen gets to go to Rome and spend some time in Italy or the south of France. And instead he's been here slinging drinks at Orchard Hill. And, you know, in that vein, we've decided to demonstrate one of our favorite libations when we're in Italy. Tell us about what we're going to make today, Donen.
Well, we're going to make the classic Spritz, which is an Apertivo time in the south of France and in Italy. Around 5 p.m., everyone comes out to whet their appetite by having this cocktail. And today, so normally we'd make it with Aperol and white wine or white sparkling wine and a spritz of seltzer and maybe an orange slice. Today we're going to make it with Cappelletti. That's another bitter. Karl will tell you about that one.
So Cappelletti, the reason we chose to use this one, you can make the spritz with a lot of different bitters, and there's different bitters from around. I've always been a fan of the Luxardo family Apertivo, which makes a great spritz, or Campari if you want to go a little more bitter. But Cappelletti has mountain herbs that are gathered just north of the Veneto and the Alto Adige, and that region is known for their apple orchards. And so in my mind, it seemed like a perfect combination to go with our cider. And the spritz is very flexible, right, Donan? What's the recipe?
Absolutely. So normally you're going to pour on ice your bitter, your Aperol. So we're going to take the Cappelletti, and we're going to so normally I think with the recipe we're saying 1.5 ounces. Start with that, but you can definitely make it to your taste.
Do you ever measure when you make this drink?
Not ever.
Me neither. This is a casual drink. You could just make it any way you want.
So let's just go ahead and pour it off. Let's see. That looks good to me to start with.
Generous.
And then today, so what we're going to use, because we are Orchard Hill and we make awesome hard ciders, we're going to take the medium dry Verde cider. It's got a nice sparkle to it, a little hint of sweetness, not much, and it's just going to add to the flavor of this one really well.
Which is nice because Cappelletti is not quite as sweet as Aperol. It's another reason why I really like it. And it's also made with wine, so it's a fortified wine base instead of spirit. So it's kind of like, somewhat like vermouth, but instead of with wormwood, it's bittered with the orange and all the traditional aperitivo style bitters. It's quite pretty. What a beautiful drink. So this is, instead of the Spritz Veneziano, this is the Hudson Valley Spritz, as we call it, the Apple All Spritz, because it's not Aperol, it's apple all the time here at Orchard Hill.
Then traditionally you take an orange slice and drop it in. We're using clementine today. I'm just going to give it a little squeeze. Toss it in, a little stir there, and there you have it.
Man, that looks refreshing. We can't go to Italy right now, but we can bring a little bit of Italy to here in the Hudson Valley.
Sorry, Karl, I'm gonna drink it. You can't have any.
You bastard. Thanks. Thanks, Donan. Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Nice. There we go.
I kind of enjoyed watching him with no sound, kind of squirming there behind the bar. Like,
that was my intention. No, it's not the first time this has happened this week. There's this little tiny button, very, very small little button at the bottom of the screen that says, if you want sound, which to me, I'm like, why would you not want sound? But
yeah, like
either way.
In the rain, we're doing the whole transition from the silence.
Yes, exactly. I love the reference. And by the way, for those of you that are watching, feel free to make comments or chat if you have questions for Karl. Just put them in your chat box, and we will answer right away. So we have actually a comment here from Bego.
Bego, it's the best.
Nice. Do you know Bego?
Yes, I was blessed to be invited on the cider exchange with the New York cider makers to Asturias, and yes. Bego was our illustrious. You can't say tour guide. She was our everything. She was our guide, our educator, our navigator, our chief cook and bottle washer, entertainment guide, and everything. She's fantastic, as all the people in Asturias who welcomed us there were. So it was a great experience. Yeah,
that's very cool.
Yeah. So yeah, she's fabulous.
So tell me more. I want to know more about sort of the Orchard Hill and starting up at Soon's and that whole story. It's such a great story.
Yeah, our project started when I was on tour. I was in the theater. I was a Broadway dancer, and we were on tour. And Andrew Emig, who was one of our partners, and he was there with his wife. I was there with my wife, and we were touring around. And I took a distilling course one week. I took a week off, and I went and took a course distilling. And Andrew's like, "Where are you going?" I'm like, distilling course. And he's like, what? And so that conversation led to us starting making brandy at the Tuttletown Distillery just soon after they got their license. And then slowly over time, it led to the formation of Orchard Hill Cider Mill with the Soons. We brought our 1066 Pommeau after a few years of distilling and introduced it to Jeffrey, and Jeffrey Soons was like, oh, this is good. And like, we think we should start a company. And that's how we started, basically.
Nice.
So we've got we call it a three-legged stool. We've got the orchard run by Jeffrey Soons and his family. And then Andrew, who kind of makes sure that we don't go off the rails and bills all get paid on time. And then I'm the mad scientist with all kinds of crazy ideas, and everyone it's like, good idea, Karl, but like, slow down, let's go.
What's the craziest idea you've had so far that actually has come to fruition?
The whole fucking thing, right? Yeah, I mean,
besides the ball game.
Well, look, when we started making Pommeau, first of all, there was no commercial Pommeau on the market that I was aware of in the whole United States. And no one knew what Pommeau was. A lot of people still don't know what Pommeau is. But that, I think, was pretty crazy. I think it was a pretty crazy thing. And as people, I think when you evangelize with love and flavor, you win. And as soon as people taste the Pommeau, then they're like, oh, I didn't know I liked this, but I do, and that's always a winning proposition when you can, when I was in the theater, when I was in restaurants, everywhere I go, whatever I do, when you can introduce someone to something new that they didn't know they liked, but actually they love. And it's the same with cider in many ways. People think they don't know.
Dago loves your Pommeau. I would have to agree with her. It is phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, it's just people don't know they love cider.
Yeah,
people don't know they love Pommeau, and I think in some ways it's really about what our mission is for me personally. It's not just, oh, I'm making cider to sell cider. It's, if you think about what Pommeau is, there's this tradition in France, and to a large degree, the French don't even truly appreciate it. It's a much forgotten and sort of tossed to the side little piece of this agricultural heritage. And all of those little pieces of agricultural heritage and people's practices and life ways are in danger of just going by the wayside with industrialization and e-commerce, and as the world gets faster and faster, smaller and smaller, those little things that are kind of traditional but not easy to mass market can easily just get forgotten about and get bastardized. And so cider, I feel, is in that category. Pommeau especially is in that category, and certainly styles of cider when you taste the different traditions from the different regions. And New York has a very long tradition. We have our apples, the Northern Spy and the Spitzenberg and the Newtown Pippin, and these things that are near and dear to us and that are part of the culture of who we are as New Yorkers. Those apples don't store as well, they don't travel as well, so it's easier just to get the new designer apple off the boat from China. But I think it's important that we tell the story and get people to understand what it is that's local and unique, special about what people have been doing here in this area.
Yeah.
And also bringing in those traditions from other places and communicating that at the same time.
Yeah. Well, and not for nothing, but I feel we're sort of spoiled in New York to have some of those stories are some of the best in the world when it comes to apples and the quality that they make of cider, which is just I feel really lucky to be in that space to have that as part of what we do.
Yeah, when I started this project, I was not terribly well versed in all the history of apples in New York State, and I didn't understand the terroir. And and it's a journey for me to learn about those things, and that's one of the things that's really exciting about the project, because I'm learning some, whole new vocabulary, a whole new piece of this state where I grew up, where I was born, and so to find out from our fellow board member Ian, who is a professor emeritus from Cornell University, that the New York State terroir is some of the best in the world for apples, and that essentially, when you look at upstate New York and the Hudson Valley, you're talking about the equivalent of, Burgundy and Bordeaux, or Napa Valley and Sonoma Valley, but for cider. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me that, we could, out of the blue, become pioneers of a category in this day and age.
Yeah.
It's very unique that something has been undeveloped to the point as essential as taking apples and fermenting them. Like,
yes,
this is a no-brainer. How could it possibly be that in this day and age that we are pioneers?
Yeah.
Bringing pommeau and cider, high quality cider with champagne method and with natural fermentation and special apples. How could it be that this hasn't become a full-fledged industry already, long before I was born?
Yeah.
It's an accident of history, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so there you go. There we are.
Yeah. I could not agree more. And it's one of the things that, attracted me to the association back when I was first learning about y'all, and then joining 1st of March. It almost everything you just said just really rings true to me. Like, to be in this journey of learning about something that is so special and new, not to diminish the work that has gone into this over hundreds of years, but as far as what's possible, the potential for the growth and the excitement around what's possible, especially in this day and age, around something that's so local and personal. I mean, even the larger fermenters and producers, it's still a very personal process, and I love that. And I love that it's and the stories are just so rich and dynamic. They're phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest player in the business is still relatively small in the world of beverage alcohol. Yeah. I mean, Angry Orchard may seem like this huge behemoth of cider, and they are compared to me, but I mean, they are, a tiny fragment of what the beverage alcohol world is, and the companies that play, and there are distributors that are bigger than them, that only distribute in 2 states. You know what I mean? Right,
exactly.
And you know what? That's kind of what makes it very special.
Yeah.
Is that our whole industry is really about people and about place.
Well, and it's very welcoming, and it makes it very accessible. It's like, you go out to Angry Orchard, and it's just all very accessible. You come visit you and your tasting room over at Soon's. I mean, it's a beautiful space, and it's just very personal. And you're not getting on a tram or getting going into some giant mega mall of experience. Like, it's a really very it's still very personal and close to home, and certainly in New York, close to our hearts.
It is. And well, I mean, I would talk about the Soon's Orchards in that way, in the sense that Soon's Orchards is only an hour and 15 minutes from New York City, and it's smack dab in fairly populated county. It's not the biggest, most populated county, but it's by no means all the way hours and hours into farm country where there's nothing but cows, and there's people and houses. And the fact that this orchard, which has been here for over 100 years, still exists and still is run by a family, not by, it's just a family. And they've been farming this land for over 100 years, and it's an anomaly, right? A lot of families sell out, farms get cut up, they get, little boxes on the hillside get developed, and the trees go away, and the bees go away, and the place where you go with your family to get tomatoes and corn and apples go away. Yeah. Because the economy, favors monoculture, just plant a million apples in Washington State, just up in the high desert. And
Yeah.
But to have a small farm where they're growing 70 varieties of apples just by a family close by to where you live, where you can come. And also, this business wouldn't exist without the Soons. The Orchard Hill is here because the Soons are here and have been here doing what they do, and because of what they value, which is, quality produce and the ideas that we're talking about here, which is a lot of the apples that we use in our cider to make our cider good, were being pulled out by a lot of growers around here. They were pulled out because, they had newer varieties that were less susceptible to the fungus, less susceptible, stored better, were getting a higher price. The ironic thing is the people who did that are all out of business.
That's interesting. Yeah.
So it's an interesting attribute that sometimes it's very hard to stay the course and kind of put a value on something that's very hard to, first of all, it takes years and years for the trees to grow. You never know. Today's apple of the moment could be yesterday's apple that's now a has-been.
Right. Well, and I think that's one of the things I also love about cider and, learning more and sort of what I've always loved about it, but I'm so getting to learn more about is just adding that really dynamic and exciting layer to those multi-generational farms and those multi-generational processes of growing and loving apples. And now there's this, again, not to diminish the fact that it hasn't been going on, but there's this very exciting space where it's adding some energy and a new layer of understanding to that whole process, which I just am really excited about.
I mean, tremendous exponential growth in there's few years that since we started Orchard Hill, the number of cider makers in New York State has exploded.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of serious people spending a lot of serious time and a lot of serious thought to make something that, has a lot of soul, a lot of flavor, and a lot of value. And it's really special. It hasn't been taken over by huge corporations. It hasn't just become a commercial like Disneyland. It's a really, there you go.
Right.
I love it. Great comment.
Love and flavor wins. Yeah.
And there's just people like you, and I want to thank you for the efforts you've put in from wherever you've only been here a very short time, but you've added a lot of value already.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you before we run out of time and say, that this happy hour is coming to a close, and I'll have to go back. We'll have to go back to our misery and drinking alone.
I am on empty, so I do need a refill, which I'm gonna have to go get.
No, it's an amazing thing how these drinks are timed out, especially to the end. But I did want to say that you're doing a great job, and thank you so much for all the value and the heart and the enthusiasm you're bringing to our community. And,
well, it's absolutely my 100% pleasure, and I feel like all I'm doing is just reflecting what the greatness and the amazingness that's already there. So yeah, I'm loving every single second of it and can't wait for more. And I mean, the really ironic part is that I'm a very social person, right? And so what attracts me to this space is interacting with people and being out and getting to taste delicious cider. And that there has not been that layer since I started, because I started on March 1st. So to have it already be so great and enjoying it so much, and to be, still looking forward to that piece of it is really, it's a good thing. It's a good place to be.
You know what? You got to take what's given and, use it as a runway for what can be. And that's the way I look at it. And I think, we are welcoming a lot of people to happy hours at Orchard Hill. I'm in the tasting room here, which is a lovely little bar. We have a nice patio.
Yeah.
And it's not a huge place. It's very intimate, but you can really have a nice